Hello, hello, friends. Wait for everyone to get on. Let me see if I can share this. Share. Where are we sharing it to? We're sharing it to Facebook, I suppose. There it goes. Good, good, good. How is everyone doing tonight? So today we are chatting with Nicola McIntosh, and she has created some crystal books, and now she's coming out with a plant spirit medicine book and a Celtic spirit oracle. So we're going to chat with her today as soon as she hops on here. So, and she is actually coming from Australia. So it's morning. It's tomorrow morning there right now. So she's just starting her day. And there she is. Let's see. Be nice, Instagram. There it is. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. It just got really dark and rainy here all of a sudden. I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now. Fine.
Right. Yeah, we've had a bit of rain here as well. So
yeah, it was like so sunny, and then all of a sudden it got so dark. I mean, it's getting a little later here also, but yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Just staring at the weather, wondering what's going on. That's the kind of day it's been for me. So welcome. So excited to have you on. And let me just introduce you real quick and we'll get going. Everyone, welcome Nicola McIntosh. She is coming to us from Australia, and she's the creator of the Celtic Spirit Oracle and the Plant Spirit Medicine book. So congratulations on those two. How exciting. Like, you're going all for it, huh?
I am.
They look beautiful too. So when do those actually, they're not out yet, right?
Now it depends which country you're in. So
got it. Okay.
Yeah, the Celtic Spirit Oracle is out. And okay. I do believe Plant Spirit Medicine is also this is the month that it's coming out all around the world. So yeah, you can do pre-orders and everything. So if you're in the States, it'll be Barnes and Noble and Amazon and all those places. But yeah, all your Amazons, all your really good bookstores, and
yeah, just wherever. And if you go to your bookstore and you don't see it there, ask for it. Oh, we
yes.
have friends. Who is this?
He just came to visit. Hello, this is Willow.
Willow, hi Willow. You know, it's so funny because that always happens. Like, every time they're like, my cat usually doesn't come in here when I'm on a live, and all of a sudden they're here. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Watch all of
like,
the curries come to me. I love it. I love it. So I always like to kind of start at the beginning. So when did you start doing all of this magical stuff? Like, when did this all happen for you? Or was it something that was part of your family and you grew up with it?
Right. Okay. So I think it's been part of my family and I've grown up with it. Awesome. My dad was very, he used to have premonitions about things. And my mum was very spiritual, and they kind of nurtured that aspect within me, which I think is great. They knew awesome. I was a little bit weird because I was a little bit different at the time, and they're like,
everybody says that too. Everybody's like, I was the weird kid. I'm like, I relate to this.
yes, I really was the weird kid.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, but they obviously, they still love me anyway, and they nurtured that aspect. And yeah, and then I think in my in high school, I was actually really steered away from doing artwork because I was told you've got to get a real job, you can't make a living out of art. Right. And then everything that I used to do, they used to mark me down because it wasn't, mainstream, and so it really kind of put a damper on things. And then I went out into the workforce thinking that I had to just get a real job, and so I was stuck in admin for so long. But then I got to the point where the crunch time was coming, and I was so unhappy. And I thought, I've just got to start doing what I enjoy doing. And I started drawing and I started writing, and that's when I self-published my first crystal grid oracle deck, and that's the first deck that got picked up by Rockpool Publishing.
Okay.
So then it just kind of snowballed from there, and it's just like,
Right.
this is what I'm meant to be doing. And there are people making a living from
Yeah,
art and doing all the
exactly.
things that they love. So it's just like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? So
Right.
yeah.
No, and good for you for doing that. And it's a part of like what we are all about here too, just even at the Cardiomancer, like doing what you love, seeking your passion. And there's a lot of people who won't do it, who are scared to do it. And so I think it's so great that we have all these platforms now to kind of utilize and show like, yeah, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. You can do it. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Because there's so many creatives out there right now. And I think, we're kind of moving into that whole creative age as well. So the more of us like talking about it, it's like the better, right?
Definitely. And I think the one thing that I've come to realize is when we were in school, we're taught all the very left brain activities. Art is just this exciting, fun subject that we get to do, once a week or something.
Right.
So when we leave school, everyone, like people, when I do art, they go, oh, I wish I could do that, or I can't do that. And it's not that you can't. Everyone has the ability in some shape or form. It's just that we've never nurtured that aspect, and we've never grown up in school doing that. And for me, I see that as the feminine principle, the creative energy. And so we've been taught this very masculine kind of way of being, but we need to balance it with the feminine, and we can balance the feminine by being creative. And that's what people are doing now. And that creativity is what's going to bring that balance and that unity between the energies. You don't need to go out and be a feminist.
Right,
you can just
exactly.
sit back and do some artwork.
It's so true. And it's like, and I think that's so like when kids are graduating high school and going like, you have to go to college, you have to go to university and whatever. And, a lot of times they like just, I don't know what to do. Like I feel like that's when that unbalance, you really feel it at that point too, because it's like, again, that whole part wasn't nurtured. And you're just like you said, you're supposed to just go into that office job or whatever. And then that's it. That's your life done. Right.
Exactly.
Now,
and it's not a fit.
We're questioning it. Yeah, it's not. And it's always like with like mindfulness and meditation and stuff. Like I know some schools are slowly starting to work that into their curriculum, but it's like, could you just imagine if like we were taught all of that from the start?
Exactly.
Like, it would save us so much time.
Wouldn't it? And nutrition. Teach us how to put the right nutrition in our bodies. Teach us how to be mindful. Teach us meditation. Have creativity. And we'll end up being balanced human beings.
Right. And it's like, it'll take like that nice 10-year chunk of us, all of us trying to find out who we are, what we want to do, and then it'll be gone, and then we'll just have more time to create.
Exactly.
That is the world that we need to be in. But I do think it is slowly starting to evolve and change, because people are definitely also starting to ask questions where, I think a while ago, nobody asked questions. They were just like, this is what you're supposed to do. And they're like, okay, this is what I do. But now we're like, wait a minute, this isn't really working for me. So I love that. I love that. So you really you focus a lot on Celtic. Can you tell me a little bit how you kind of came into that? Did you kind of test out a couple other things and that really resonated with you? Or was that something that you just jumped right into?
Yeah. It's been something that's been in the background for so long, because my family heritage is all from Scotland and England. And so my father's always had that connection to Scotland. We've always felt like we've wanted to go there, and I've been there on a holiday, and everything's just always resonated with me. And but I did go in many different directions, because I hadn't found myself, and I'm one of these people that thinks really broadly, but thinks in very minute detail as well. So I was going in so many different tangents, and I knew I had to niche somewhere as well. And I'm just like, I'm going all over the place. I need to start to focus my thoughts and ideas. And I thought, well, I love doing all this Celtic stuff. And when I moved, I live up on a mountain called Tambourine Mountain. And when I moved up here, everything just went bad. Like my
Oh
whole life fell
no.
apart. No, but it was actually really good thing
Yeah.
for me. It actually made
Right,
me
right.
find myself. But in that time while I was searching to find myself, I found books on the Celtic trees, and I found a really good book on Celtic shamanism by John Matthews. So he's an awesome author. And I worked through all the exercises and all the books that I could find on shamanism. And it just brought me back to my roots. And it was just like, oh, this is me. And then I started delving more into all the legends and the myths and all that kind of thing. And then I just started drawing one day. I thought, all right, I'm just going to try and draw something. And I drew a picture, and I was just like, wow, where did that come from? And I realized that
Awesome.
it was like automatic drawing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so people can automatic write. I can automatic write, and I can talk to my guides in that way and ask them
Yeah.
questions. But I'd never let my pen just flow on the paper, and all these little weird faces came to me, and I thought, all
Oh
right, I'm
wow.
going to run with this.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it took a
definitely.
while.
Right, right. Yeah, you probably just kind of had to like work that muscle a little bit until it was like second nature for you now, probably, right?
Yeah, well, I do a lot of research. I'm
Hmm.
always buying books, and I bought books on how to do Celtic knotwork, and then I do lots
Yes.
of studying on all different kinds of people's art, and then I try and find what my style is. And sometimes what's in my head isn't what comes out on the paper, but then what comes out on the
Right.
paper is fine. So it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of go with this. And I love that too. And I think that's something, even just for people who are watching that are not sure which direction to go in, is read everything.
Yes,
Even if
yes.
you don't think you're going to resonate with it, that's okay. Still read about it. And, you know, I did the same thing. When I was just kind of looking to see where I was going to fall, and I found this big book at the library, and it kind of like each chapter was like a different religion. And it was so fascinating to
Mm.
me. And I was only like 14 or 15 at the time when I was reading it. And I don't remember the name of it. And I would love to find that book because it really just kind of made me think, you know, like you said, then you're like, well, yeah, this kind of resonates, but this really doesn't. And it's like you just kind of mush it all together and you get your own practice out of it,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And that's the good thing about the internet. It's been a knowledge
Yes.
explosion, and you can learn
Mm-hmm.
from so many different cultures and people all around the world, all different things. And so I think the way that spirituality is evolving is we can cherry pick from all the different things that we've learned and find
Yep.
something unique to us, because at the end of the day, it's all the same energy. It's just the way it's expressed for us and how we interpret it. So we're all kind
Exactly.
of, we're aiming towards the same goal. It doesn't matter how we get there, as long as we treat one
Right.
another with respect and love, and you grab your own beliefs to help you be a better person, help you learn and help you grow. And that's
Right.
all there is to it. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
love the
No,
internet
definitely.
like I'm just a course junkie. If I'm not
No, I
reading books,
know.
I'm
Oh
doing
my gosh.
courses.
All the courses I have, like, just like, I'm like, I gotta do that. I gotta do that. And then I'm like, oh, but look at this one. And it is. It's just,
Yes.
it is. It's so much. And I just wish I could just like, you know how they say you like sleep on a book or something to like absorb it. Like, I'm just gonna sleep on my computer. I'm just gonna be cuddling my computer in my sleep just to absorb all the information.
Yes. I have tried all those things.
Right, it's like it's just there is so much good information out there. And and I think too it's really important for people to know that just because you're doing it differently than somebody else, that's okay. Because like even you said, it's all the same energy. You're all kind of getting to the same end game there, but
Yeah.
we all just have to take different ways because that's just what we resonate with or
Yeah,
whatever. So
exactly.
there's no right or wrong, of course,
No.
unless you're like people, but I think that's really important too, because I think a lot of the newer younger generation, they get a little overwhelmed. I mean, it is overwhelming, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was growing up, it was just the library. And if I was lucky, those like
Exactly.
3 or 4 books that they had on, witchy, spiritual, anything, they're always checked out. So you're always like waiting on a list to get them, and
Exactly.
now you just pull up your phone and there is everything and extra. So I
Yeah.
think, they do get overwhelmed. And I think it's really, really, really important to just let them, let the younger generation know that you do have to read it all, and you do have to really know what resonates with you. And whatever it is, it's okay, because it's going to be different, and different's
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Because,
Different's great.
yeah, because, well, when you go on you on TikTok or any of those things, there's so many people like, you don't do it this way and you don't do it that way. And
Yeah.
I've even talked to them, and I'm like some of these people, and I'm like, no, 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 don't listen to that. If somebody's telling you it's wrong, they don't even have it together, because they're so worried
Yeah.
about you. They're not worried. They're not like getting their spirituality in check. So, I think
Exactly.
that's always super important. So what was your inspiration for the Celtic Spirit Oracle?
Well, I guess I've always had an affinity to fairies and the fae, and obviously Celtic inspiration, and through my shamanism learnings, I've really got in touch with these beings personally. I've had experience with them, and so that's kind of my motivational force, is because I know how much I have learned from them, and
Right.
the lessons that I've learned. Like every time I do an oracle deck, I have either gone through the lesson that I'm teaching with the card, or I'm going through it, or I'm about to go through it. And I find
Right.
that the messages come through, like everything's overlapping. Before I finish one card, the next card's coming in. And with the Celtic
Oh, wow.
Spirit Oracle, I had 3 images on the go at each time, because
Oh,
everything was
wow.
just coming through all at the same time. And each
Yeah.
card led to the next one and the next one and the next one. It's just like, so
Oh,
sometimes I
that's
have to just sit back and just let it come through, because for my understanding in shamanism, a shaman is a person who's got one foot in both worlds, and
right.
they learn how to communicate one world's lessons to another world's lessons. So it's just, I'm kind of like the middle person, just kind of
Yes.
communicating and trying to
Right.
draw it
Right.
as best as I can. And
Yeah. No, that's awesome though. It is, and it
yeah,
is so true. It is, because I'm kind of like baby shaman. Like, I've been learning slowly and things and stuff like that. But it is like, you really are kind of that conduit, and it's just about like meshing it all together in a way that everyone will understand and really resonate with too. You
exactly.
know, it
Yeah.
is.
And so
It's
everyone's
definitely
teaching styles is different.
right.
So my teaching style is kind of through my artwork. I try to put as much
Mhm.
symbolism, and I want to capture.
Oh, I lost your audio real quick. Yeah, hold on. Yep. Let's give it a minute, see if it's going to pop back on. There you are. You came back. That was weird. Your audio just totally like went out. Like, none of that Instagram, none of that.
No, okay.
So I'm sorry. Back up. What were you saying?
Oh, I think I lost my train of thought.
Sorry. We're blaming Instagram.
Yes.
So yeah, no, yes, we were just talking about being like the conduit and stuff like that. So you let me know if it pops back up for you.
Yeah.
So do you work with the Fae on a regular basis?
Look, I guess I do. It's so hard for me to actually talk about. Uh, uh, yeah, as you can already hear, I'm already like, I've got a block about talking about things like this. I think it's a judgment thing. I mean, when you say you talk to fairies and the fae, it's,
Right.
I still live in the mainstream world as well. But
Yeah, yeah.
but yes, I call them nature spirits as well. So,
Oh yeah, I like
everything
that.
in nature has got a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I work with the fae, it's more when I do my shamanic journeying, and
Right.
so they don't look exactly with like beautiful like butterfly wings. It's normally like a flow of energy that goes behind them and trails off. And
Okay.
so I don't know how to draw that yet, and I'll probably work
Yeah.
on that. But
Right.
when I
That
go to
sounds
draw it,
cool
I
though.
do draw these kind of distinct outlines and things like that. So
Right. No, I
but I
love
go in
that.
there with questions, specific questions, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to do more of my practice. That always is a thing for me, is I'm always an overachiever, so I don't allow myself enough time to do the work, which is my main priority for this year, is to give myself the time to do more of the work, because
Oh,
it's really important to do that.
it is. It is very important. We have a question here. So, what is your favorite thing you've learned about yourself through shamanism?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good one.
The favorite thing I've learned about myself. I've learned that there's no boundaries, that we're not here by ourselves. And although you can see just a physical body, our body extends out past that. And that's how we connect to the other worlds and other beings around us. And as soon as we open our mind to understand that we're bigger than what we see in front of us, then it kind of allows the opportunities for us to connect to other things around us that we don't necessarily know that are there. And
Right.
by opening ourselves as well, we're opening ourselves to receive information, and then we receive information in different ways than we thought that we would as well. So I receive
Yeah.
a lot of visuals, and I get goosebumps when things are right, and it's just like there's more going on around us than we realize.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's like just all a part of even just finding yourself too and discovering just like that magical world, because we are so conditioned to just believe like this is it, this black and white, and that's it. And I always tell people I live in the gray. Like that's where I am. You want to find me? I'm in the gray. That's where I am.
Yeah.
Because it is all about learning from everything that is around you. And of course, nature is all around us, obviously, unless you're in a big city. I mean, I happen to actually live on top of a mountain too. So that's awesome. And even just for me, just going outside. And then when I do journeying, like I have a place on my property that's like my journeying spot. So I always, would go there, and I have a lot of tree spirits that like to hang around. So that's I'm always talking
Perfect.
to trees. Always. And,
Yes.
it is all the time. Like, just, I don't even know. Like, half the time, I don't even know that I'm doing it. And, one of my kids will be like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to that tree. And they're like, okay. They're used to it by now. Because even when they were younger, we used to just go out and look, go fairy hunting and leave treats for them and everything.
Awesome.
Like that. So, yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. So now, and then you also have your book out. So that's more about
Yes.
plant spirit medicine. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I've got a degree in Western herbal medicine and a master's in Chinese herbal medicine. And the way it's taught in Western society is the whole spiritual aspect can't be taught because it's not a Western kind of philosophy, and you can't go to uni and learn those things. So when I left uni and was in clinic, I'm a very spiritual person, and I could see these massive big holes in how people were being treated. And it was just like, I can see the spiritual aspect which needs to change for them. You can treat the physical as long as you want. It's not going to change.
Right.
You've got to change their behavior and their way of seeing themselves and their way of, everything about their spiritual aspect. And I thought, well, if that's missing and I think it's missing, well, then someone's got to step up and teach it and do something. And there are people teaching plant spirit medicine. So I thought, well, how can I contribute? And plant spirit medicine is about the making of plant spirit medicine. So it's about, you can look into your backyard and find what's growing in your immediate environment and make medicine from that, and find what the plants are trying to teach you that are around you, because they pop up when you need them.
Right.
So it's more about, it doesn't matter where you live in the world, and all the formulations are all in percentages, so it doesn't matter where you live and what system you use, your metric or whatever. And it's just kind of giving you that little extra step further of what I've learned in my teachings, so that the everyday person can make things at home as well, and obviously to advance as well.
Right. Yeah. And that's awesome, because for people who are just starting, again, that's another thing. Like, you start looking into it and you're like, okay, this is all stuff I don't have and whatever. So I love that you kind of just broke it down into stuff that you can find right in your backyard, which is really cool.
And also things that you'll find in your kitchen. So all the utensils, you don't need to have all this laboratory equipment and so forth, because I like to bring everything back to basics, and everything's got to be sustainable, and you shouldn't have to have a million ingredients, because we never used to have a million ingredients when we were working in medieval
Exactly.
days. So it's
So
about
true.
really bringing it down and making it simple, so that it's not this big overwhelming thing. And I want to eventually create YouTube videos to walk people through the book, because there's people that need to actually physically see it happening. And I
Yes.
just kind of want to kind of create that community where we all just kind of, ask questions and make things, and, just really get in touch
Yeah.
with nature. That's what the book is
No,
about.
I
It's
love
more
that.
about,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, getting in tune with nature.
Right. Yeah. And I love that idea, just even about the YouTube videos too, because there are some people who need to see it physically happening to like get it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's, that could be a really awesome resource for them as well. So what was kind of your first like herbal concoction that you made? Like, what was your first thing that you did when you first started doing plant medicine?
Oh, actually, it was just a rosemary hair rinse. So
There you
rosemary is
go.
really good for your hair. It makes it
Yes.
really nice and shiny. And I would literally just pick rosemary out of my garden, and I'd put it in like a really big Pyrex jug and pour lots of boiling water over it. Let it steep for a while. Just cover it so
Hmm.
that all the essential oils don't float away. And then
Right.
once it's warmed down to a nice room temperature, then I would go and have a shower. I'd shampoo my hair, and then I'd just pour all this rosemary water all through my
Oh,
head. I'd literally stick my head into it, and then I'd
right.
condition my hair afterwards. And everyone used to go, "Oh, your hair looks beautiful." And it was just
Yeah.
something
And
simple
that's
like
gonna
that.
smell so good too.
Yeah, yeah. So you're like,
No, I love that.
you're asking the rosemary for permission. You're asking to be with it, and while you're pouring it over you, you're with it. While you're smelling it, you're breathing it in, and then it stays on your, like, there's all these different ways of you to be able to utilize it. And yeah, it's a great herb to start with, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a nice, and it's a nice easy one too. And I use rosemary as well for my hair, and I just even love the smell of it, like just
Yeah.
rosemary everywhere. Like that's what the smoke sticks I make. I'm like, just I want it everywhere. It just smells so good. Um, so what advice would you have for people who are interested in shamanism and even, just shamanism in general? Like, how would you tell them, like, where would you direct them to really start?
Yeah, well, I think one thing to know about shamanism is it's a practice that can be run alongside any religion or any views that you have. It's not a set kind of religion or anything like that. It's more about getting in tune with the other realms. So
Mm-hmm.
it all depends on which country you live in. There's all different shamanism, indigenous tribes, and so forth. And
Right.
Celtic shamanism, they actually never had that word shamanism. So shamanism is a word that's been borrowed, and it's been used for all the tribes around the world that practice the same thing.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I mean, if you're in America, or you love the Native American way, or you like the Tibet or Mongolian way, and there's so many different avenues to go. But if you do like the Celtic shamanism, I definitely recommend John Matthews. He's just got a
Okay.
book on Celtic shamanism, and it's got so many really good exercises in there that you can do by yourself, and you'll come to so many realizations. And
Uh,
keep a journal, and you write down all your journeys, and you'll look back at the journeys, and you'll just be, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Oh my God, that's so true. Oh, that's still relevant today. And
that's
you learn
awesome.
so much about yourself from it. So, just
Yeah.
start somewhere.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, just get reading and grab a journal, because it's so
Yeah,
important to keep track of everything. That's always
definitely.
something I tell, like always, like even if you just have your phone, like the notes app in your phone, anywhere,
Yes.
just like get it down. And I always say that, like even just when you're working with different plants and stuff, like how they make you feel, how they, how you found it, because I totally agree with they pop up when they need it, because again, I live on the mountainside, and if something's going on, or I'm thinking about something in particular, and I'm just walking through, and I will find something like, you weren't there last year, where did you come from, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
they know, like they totally know what you need, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Let me see, I
Yeah.
have another question. In your new book, are there things you can make to ingest, or is it just for making things for like outside self-care? So your physical, outside physical self.
Yeah, okay. So it goes into, you can use plant spirit medicine for external care, but you can also use it as teas. Like, I don't go into too many specifics of what plants and what herbs, because I wanted it to be a book that you could use all around the world. I didn't want to narrow it down to a few herbs that were only available in one place. And I think
Right. Yeah, that's hard.
that's the important thing to learn for yourself, is if start with herbs that you do know, or plants that you do know. Or I recently discovered that bougainvillea, I don't know if bougainvillea is something you get all around the world, but the flowers are beautiful and you can have it as a tea. So the first thing you do is to look at what's around your external environment, or what do you feel drawn to. And if there's a particular flower in your garden, or you've always had an affinity to a particular plant, find out what that plant is and if you're able to ingest it. If you still can't find any information on that, you can create flower essences or spiritual essences. And so in the book, there's that. You can also dry the plant material and carry it in a medicine bag on you if you don't know if it's ingestible. So
Right.
yeah, and so there's all those different things. It teaches you how to make smudge sticks. So you might find something that's native to your area, because there's sustainability issues with things like white sage and Palo Santo. So it's about, what is in your immediate environment. So you might want to use lavender. Lavender just grows like nuts at my place. So I create my lavender smudge. So it's about really taking that ownership into your hands and understanding the plants that you're working with, and seeing where the sustainability issues are, like white sage or Palo Santo, and going, well, how can I change that? What can I do that's sustainable? What have I got growing around me that's readily available? And then doing your own research and finding out about your plant. Because if you don't do your own research at some point, and you keep relying on everything that's given to you, you won't gain that true connection with your plant. You need to know everything about your plant, how it grows, where it grows, what cycle it goes through, and just basically sitting with it, meditating with it, drawing it, doing whatever. That's what gets you really close relationship with your plant. So yeah, there's a little bit of research to do yourselves, but there is a future book that will be bringing in other things.
All right then. That sounds fun and mysterious. I'm supposing, I guess you can't share that just yet, huh?
Not just yet, no.
So you have to make sure you're following Nicola so that you can get all the things, all of the things. But I do, I do like the fact, like, even as you do research the different plants and again, like, that's why I love rosemary too, because you can use it for like everything. But as you're doing that research too, you're also learning about yourself. And it's like I like to also do some, when I remember, I try to like pick a new plant for each new moon. And like, that's my plant, like, of the month that I just try to connect with and see how I'm feeling and, about it, and how I can use it and learn about it. Because then it's like a part of you at that point, I feel like, because you're like, at any time, once you've connected, like, lavender, okay, well, lavender makes me feel this way, and I love using it in that way. And you're kind of like building your own little library in your head, right, about all these different plants, because there may be some that aren't ready for you, or you're not ready for them. And you're just like, what? Oh, this is not feeling like, I don't like the smell of this, or it's not just flowing right. But that's also another opportunity to like sit with it and why, why is that happening? Ask the plant, why are we not cooperating, right? So there's like, why don't we get along, plant? There's like so many different ways to work with it. And and I think that's, shamanism too is such like a nature, driven. It's all about nature, really. And it's about, connecting, and then connecting with the other side. So that's also building that practice as well for those that want to really start diving into that. Definitely. Because you can even journey with different plants, right? Like, have you ever done journeys with plants?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And they're really amazing. I had a really good one with blackthorn or blackberry. It was
Oh,
yeah. I did a whole heap of Celtic ones at one point. And when I do my journeying, so I guess for those that don't understand the difference between meditation and journeying, shamanic journeying is where you actually take your full consciousness to, you travel through time, space, wherever, it's because it's all one, to
right.
actually connect with the plant spirit or whatever spirit that you wish to communicate with. Um, so when I journey to this plant spirit, I see in images mostly, and in those images I'm in the role. So it was showing me like a big thorny hedge, and it brought me
Ooh.
inside the thorny hedge, and inside the thorny hedge it was all protected. So
Wow.
the blackberry was all about the black vine. It had spikes on it, so it was about protection. And when you're
Yeah.
in that inside, it helps you show that when you're protected, you can feel at peace and feel at ease. And when you're in in there, you can travel to all different places without people seeing you, without being seen, so that you're
Oh,
not
I like.
vulnerable. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it takes me on a really physical and visionary journey, and
Hmm.
each one's different. And then some I haven't been able to journey with. Some you actually have to ingest or take to actually
Right.
understand what it's meant for. So another one I mentioned in my book is about vervain,
Hmm.
and I tried with vervain. It wasn't. I just couldn't journey with it. I couldn't get what it wanted, what it wanted to portray. And so I actually made a physical little concoction with it, with red wine, and then I drank a little bit of
Ooh.
it. And yeah, and when you're doing it, I could feel the plant spirit with me. I got shivers from head
Mhm.
to toe. I called it in. I asked it to
Oh, wow.
help teach me and show me and let me know how I can return its wisdom.
Right.
And I didn't think much of it afterwards, because I thought, oh, okay, well, I've got to let it happen. And in the next 3 months, I had boyfriends contacting me that I hadn't spoken to in like 10 to 20 years.
Oh,
And they were like,
wow.
oh, look, really, I just wanted to let you know it wasn't you, it was me. And I'm like, where did this come from? We haven't spoken in
Right.
like 20
Okay.
years or so. And what I
Right. Right.
realized, yeah, well, Vervain is
Wow.
about love, and Vervain is about
Hmm.
removing obstacles. So my obstacle to finding love and finding the right partner was my own perception of myself. And that
Hmm.
was, I thought that I wasn't good enough, and that's why everyone left me. But it
Right.
wasn't
Okay.
that at
Yeah.
all. Yeah,
No.
all these
Wow.
encounters made me realize it wasn't me. And then obviously there was a part of me that it's 50-50 in every relationship, but I just
Yeah.
put
Good.
all this blame on myself. And once all of
Hmm.
that had lifted, that baggage was gone. And then I became a vibrational match to the partner that I'm with now, because
Oh,
we
wow.
we already knew each other, and I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
attracted to him at the time because he wasn't a
Oh, I love it.
vibrational match with me until I got rid of my baggage.
Right.
And
You
that was
weren't there
mind
yet.
blowing. Yeah, that was mind
Wow.
blowing for me. We're now engaged. We got engaged just
Oh,
a few weeks ago.
yay. Oh,
Yeah, so
congratulations.
thank you.
Exciting. Oh, I love that. So you're gonna have a lot of plants at your wedding, right?
I'm gonna have like flowers through my hair, and I'll probably be
Just
dressed in
everywhere.
green.
You better post pictures because now I'm going to be
Oh,
looking.
I will.
I want to see all the things. That's so exciting, though. I love that. Well, wow. What a year for you then. You got married, you have an Oracle deck, and you have a book coming out. And then you
Yes.
have your top secret book coming out. I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
Oh,
That's
I've
awesome.
got so much in the work. I've got 2 projects I've already handed in to my publisher. So one will be coming out at the end of this year, and
Oh,
then another one
wow.
will be coming out next year. And I'm about to hand one in very soon. So
Oh,
I
my
am
goodness.
just,
You are on fire right now. You're doing all the things.
yeah, I focused my energies now. It's just like, oh, rein it
Yes.
all in.
Oh my God. I love that. I love that. So was there ever a plant that you worked with that you didn't vibe with, that you were just like, yeah, we're not going to, we're not going to work together this right now?
Not really.
Good.
There's a couple that
Fantastic.
there's a couple that I haven't been able to grow. So I'm assuming that that's something that I can't work with yet.
Right.
Mugwort. I can't grow
Right.
mugwort at the moment. But then I found flowers and things that have grown for me that I wanted to buy, and they just popped up. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So
Yeah, that's handy.
yeah,
Lot
but
cheaper.
I've tried to learn more about what's on my property, because my place is abundant with lots of different things. So I've actually been starting to make flower and crystal essences together out of things in my garden. So that's something I'll be releasing down the track as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think making flower essence out of something, like I feel drawn to it, and I feel drawn on the day as well. It's just like, oh, okay, that flower needs me to do something today. And then I'll find out it's an eclipse day, or it's, some sort of, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll
once
do
you
a
look it all up
meditation.
and you're like, this is why. Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm not up on the astrology scene. But I'll find out on the day or the next day. I'll go to write it down. Like I write down all my journal notes, and then I'll do a meditation with it, and then I'll learn what it's trying to teach me. I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And then I realize that I've paired the right crystal up with it at the same time. So it's a lot of it is, once you start the ball rolling, you'll just intuitively know where you've got to go and what you've got to do, and when things need to just give it a rest and then pick things up again.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, is a good point too, is just making sure that you know when to like pursue it, and then when, like, don't force it, like, just if it's not working, just put it down, because like you can go right back to it at another time, and then it's going to work wonderfully for you, right?
Exactly.
So that is, I think that's a big thing when working with different plants, that I think people too, they, because you can pick up a crystal and, sometimes like it feels great, but sometimes it's like, it doesn't feel like great. So you put it down and you pick up the next one. And, and I feel like that's kind of the same with plants, and people don't realize that sometimes it's like, they can be kind of choosy sometimes. Like they're like, yep, not now, not now, not now, not now.
Yeah, exactly.
And being patient. It's so important. So we have another question. What would you recommend for those desiring to connect to the spirits of place, herbal incense tea?
Okay. So connecting to the spirits of place, I mean, you can have lots of different energies when you talk about spirits of place. So where I live on Tamborine Mountain, spirits of place also encompasses the Aboriginal tribes that have lived here before us as well. So the best thing that I would recommend is sitting just with nothing to start with, and giving your respect and your gratitude and your love to those who have gone before you that still reside on the plane where you're at, and asking them for guidance and knowledge and acceptance for you to practice on the land that you're on.
Right.
Another thing that you could do is, like, I've got lavender growing on my property, so I could ask lavender, may I connect with the spirits of place through you by using you as a smudge stick. There's all different ways. And this is where I also say, use your imagination, because I don't like to put limits on anything or tell you exactly how to do something, because as soon as you ask for that, you've acquired a limitation. And when we overthink things, we change into a different side of our brain, which cuts us off from things, and we're just like, oh, I'm overthinking it.
Like just expectation. Like that's why I always say, like, the expectation just shuts it all down.
Exactly. And you just got to go with the flow. Just go what you feel is right. Make it up. Doesn't matter if you say something wrong, or if you do it in your head because you feel a little bit silly saying things, or you do it in a space where people aren't looking at you. It doesn't matter. Just do it wherever you want, however you want, as long as you always work with an open heart for the best good. You're not doing it for gain in any way, and it's respectful, and it's a reciprocal arrangement. What you give out, make sure that there's it's love and gratitude, or you give back in some way. If you can't give back in you know, sometimes we leave physical objects. We might water a plant. We might remove rubbish from around a plant or around an area. So that's giving back in your way by saying, I respect this space and I respect the spirits that reside here. So the way that I can give back is by cleaning the rubbish up from here, or yeah, things like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's it. It is definitely just releasing that expectation and just seeing what happens, and it is okay. You don't always have to go outside like, okay, I'm going to connect with all the things, like you said, just kind of going out with an open mind and just being mindful of what's going on around you, and always, and I feel like too, if you feel like you're doing that and it's not working out for you the way you want, it's just practicing gratitude, too, just saying thank you. And like you said, maybe you just need to do some cleaning, and maybe you need to just maybe water a little extra around if it's been dry out. And then before you know it, I feel like that is just one of those things, like they're like, all right, this person's ready, so here we go,
Yeah, exactly. And when we work with gratitude and love, we're operating on a higher vibrational level as well. So when we're working on that higher vibrational level, we're more open to those kind of energies that are around us. If we're feeling really depressed one day and we're sitting down and we're wanting to connect and we're all doom and gloom, we will attach to different things. And I'm not saying we will attach to negative entities or anything like that. I'm just saying that when we will attract what we are at that point. And so we may attract the energies that will help us when we're depressed. But when we're in love and gratitude, we might attract energies that help us with furthering our knowledge, or obtaining something different than when we're in a sad feeling. So it's important to do the practice.
It is. And I think too, with when you are practicing those things, and just realizing too, like, these beings don't necessarily know good and bad. They just know what is. And it's, and I think when you come into practice with plants, with nature, just really with anything, really, I think it's coming into that space and realizing that again, it's that black and white. They don't know black and white. It just is. The universe just knows what is, and, and I think keeping that in mind is so important too. Like when you're even just learning, right? Because that's what a lot of people are so worried, like, well, what if I go outside and a bad entity comes? It's like, no, if you're vibrating higher than that, if you don't like let that into your realm, it's not going to be in your realm. Like, you don't have to worry about it, and it's so important, because that's like one of those newbie questions people always get, like, what if this, and you're like, no, because I don't even think about that, like, because you're, like you said, your intention, you have your intention, and if it's in that higher loving vibration, then none of that would even come into your thought space anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
it is. It's so important. So and so your books are out now. Your book is out now. And also, where can everybody find your crystal books? Because I did see those, and you have an oracle, right? And also a crystal oracle.
Yeah, I've got a crystal grid oracle and a book on crystal grid secrets. So the crystal grid secrets goes into shamanism, and it's a really good beginner's book for people that want to learn about crystals. I teach about the chakras and how to, if you learn your chakras really well, you'll be able to pick all your crystals really easily, instead of going out and finding an overwhelming amount of information on crystals, and then how to place them into crystal grids and what kind of geometry you can use for different things. So it's a really good overall book.
That's a nice resource to have.
So all of those are all available. All my products are available on all the different Amazons around the world. Barnes and Noble in the States, in Australia, Booktopia, and all your really good online bookstores, as well as your bookshops. In Australia, you can even get them in like Big W, and lots of different places. And they're also available on the website as well. So if you want a signed copy or things like that, just and I also have the artwork or some of the artwork for my crystal grid, the Celtic Spirit Oracle. There's lots of different things. You can get it anywhere, and a lot of spiritual new age shops, they'll have my products as well.
Oh, I love that. And so for people too now, just thinking about crystal gritting and stuff like that, what is an easy kind of like a beginner way to get started with that? Like how would you suggest they find the crystals that resonate with them and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I always recommend just starting off simple. I like to make my grids very simple colors because when it comes to medicines for the body, you don't want to overdo it. So just keep it
Right.
nice and calm. You can also mix your plant spirit medicines with your crystal medicine. So
Yeah.
you can pick some leaves or flowers out of your garden. I recommend just starting off with plain quartz. Quartz is the most abundant mineral on earth. You
Mm-hmm.
can use that to substitute for any other crystal that you don't have. Um, so if you're, say you've got a quartz crystal and you want a black tourmaline crystal but you can't find it, you ask for the black tourmaline spirit to work through your quartz crystal. So essentially all you need is quartz if
It's
you want to go.
true.
Yeah. So I try to always work in a sustainable manner. We don't need to have an abundance of crystals. We don't have to have every single crystal known to man on the planet in our house. We can
Right,
access
right.
it anywhere because in shamanic principles, we're all connected anyway. We're all the same energy, just expressing
Mm,
itself in different forms.
right.
Um, so you might not even start out with a crystal for a crystal grid. You might start out with a rock from your garden. That's going to have as much power as well. And then arrange, you normally have a center stone, and the center stone is
Mm-hmm.
what you use for your intention. And you sit it in the center, really project your love and your gratitude and your intention into that stone, and place your other crystals or your flowers or leaves around that stone in any form of pattern to start with, as long as they're all close, because that means that all their energy fields are overlapping. So it creates
Right.
a really big unified field of your intention because you're projecting your intention into that field. And then you ask for that grid and all the energies that are working within that grid to please help you with your intention. I see
Mm-hmm.
it as calling a board meeting. You know, there's
Right.
all these
Yes.
energies out there. They don't really know what you're doing. And then you've got to go, oh,
Yeah.
hang on. This is what I need. And can you help me with that? And then they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go off on their directions and then the intention's
No, I
set.
love that. No, I love that too. And, there's even been times too that I've gotten like shells from a beach and stuff like that. And I've added those into them. And it is like
Yes.
you can really kind of use just whatever acorns, pine cones, all the
Yeah.
things, because it is all connected. And I love that.
Yeah.
And, because a lot of people too, like, especially when they start with crystals, they're like, okay, so I need to get like one of every crystal and I need to get every single one. And
Yeah.
if you have that much room in your house, then good for you. Then you go for it.
Yep.
But when it comes down to it, like you said, it's just you can just use a quartz crystal. And I always like compare it to like for like candles when you're like I do a lot of candle magic stuff. And if you don't have the color candle, the white candle, kind of just again, you just ask, okay, you know what? You're going to be a green candle today.
Yeah.
that's what you're doing, and it is. And I love that you're really just big too on just being keeping it simple, because it is
Yep.
so important. It is so important because I think that's where a lot of people get overwhelmed, is
Yeah.
they're like they get these like making these laundry lists of things that they have to get in order to practice, and then they never really get there because they're like, well, I still have to get all this stuff. But you know
Exactly.
you're like,
Because
no excuses. Go outside and get a rock. Let's go.
yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, crystals are just tools. They're tools to remind us of our ability. So we can
Mhm.
do all this stuff without crystals, but it's just kind of that extra step before we understand that we can do it without anything because we are the same energy. So
Right.
we are the tool. We are the creator. We have that energy within us. So once we learn that, we tend to find that our buying slows down because we no longer need all those things. And
Right.
that's when we start giving away crystals and things like that. So, and it's also a sustainability issue as well. For me, everything needs to be
Right.
sustainable. It's like going back to our roots, and we don't need
Mhm.
all the things. So
Right.
I always like to keep that in mind.
No, I think that's really important too, because, why create more that we don't need, when there's plenty all around us, right?
Exactly.
So that's awesome. I love that. And, if anybody wants to follow her, I know Amber put all of her links down there and where to find her too. So make sure you go ahead and follow her and join all her things so you can see all these things that she's got going on. So
Thank
now I'm
you.
like following you on Instagram because I want to see it. I want to see the whole engagement, wedding situation, all of it. I want to see all of it. I'm going to be waiting.
Awesome.
I'm going to be messaging you. Like, where is it? But thank you so much for coming on today. This was really a lot of fun, and
Yeah,
I'm so
thank you for having
excited
me.
for everything. Yeah, I'm so excited for everything you're doing. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And make sure you go ahead and give us a follow as well. And go ahead over and give Nicola a follow. And if you do have her books, her decks, whatever, please make sure you also do a review, because reviews really, really help us authors. And it's super, super
Definitely.
important. It takes 2 minutes to do. And we appreciate it so much. All right, Nicola, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too. Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.